The Egyptian army says it killed 52 suspected militants as part of an operation to drive out terrorists from the country's east. The army says it killed the militants in 2 separate operations in the rest of Sinai Peninsula. It adds that 3 soldiers were also killed during the clashes. The Egyptian military launched a sweeping operation against the militants in February. Since then, more than 350 armed men have been killed. The militants have launched a number of attacks against Egyptian security forces since the army ousted former President Mohamed Morsi in 2013. Joining us on the line is Alex Bowers from Veterans Today Africa. Alex Bowers, this fight against these terrorists in northern Sinai has been going on for quite some time. Why do you think that Egypt is not routing them out completely and that this fight is still going on?
Well, I think it's like any other insurgency. You're going to have, it's pretty hard to win these type of, these sort of guerrilla warfare type operations. You're going to have, for every militant that they kill, there's going to be another 5 to 10 that are going to be recruited based off of that militant dying. So there's always a growing movement in any sort of insurrection type operation. So I think the Egyptian government's I think this issue is going to keep growing. And since the country hasn't been exactly 100% stable with their democracy, you're seeing you're going to see uprisings in certain sectors of the country where, supporters of the old government who are, they're connected, they're well armed, and they're willing to fight for what they believe in. So it's going to be an ongoing resistance movement within this region. I don't think it's going to end overnight. Just because they did a raid this week doesn't mean that this is going to stop, and it may even grow to a much larger level at some point. Depends on their organization and how fast they can recruit.
When you talked about the old government, you were referring to the government of Mohamed Morsi. Is that who you're referring to in terms of the the sympathizers when it comes down to these?
Sure. I mean, what happened was, that this is the sort of thing that happens when you have an unstable transition. So yeah, I think so. I think you're going to have holdouts and people that are going to challenge the status quo or position themselves in the future to get back into power. This is what happens when you have outside interference. When governments are interfered with by outside parties, we don't know who's financing it. Most of these rebellions are financed by some third party, whether it's an intelligence agency or government outright supporting them. So there's a lot more digging that needs to be done as to who really finances them, because they don't just, rebellions don't just pop up. They're financed. They have to have weaponry. They have to have support. There's political movements. And today, you have to assume that most intelligence agencies around the world, including the Americans or Israelis, they're all playing their cards on both sides. So, that I always look at that when I see a rebellion. I look at what type of weaponry they're using and where it's coming from and who's financing them and these sort of things. Because I think they can give you a lot of inclination on who is really, starting these little these battles, and we'll see what happens with over time.
Okay.
If this progresses and grows into a larger movement and destabilizes the country itself.
Very well. Thank you for that. Alex Bowers, Veterans Today, Africa.